Welcome, viewers, to Assiduous Dust. I'm your host, Joshua Corwin. I'm here with the marvelous David Dephy. David, I'm so glad that we're finally doing this. I'm quite fond of David. Sometimes I'll call him DD and he'll call me GC. And well, anywho, listeners, I'm just super excited, and we're going to get into hearing David's story. We're going to have some awesome dialogue, and we'll do the OTSCP, and we'll get to hear about David's latest work that's out. But first, a little bit about David. Let me look at my cheat sheet, though I know a lot of this by heart already.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Of course. David Dephy is a trilingual. Wow, I wish I was even one lingual. I'm barely English. David Dephy is a trilingual Georgian American award-winning poet, novelist, and multimedia artist. He is the winner of the 2019 Spillwords Press Poetry Award, the finalist of the Adelaide Literary Award Anthology for 2019 for category of Best Poem. As an active participant in the American and international poetry and artistic scenes, he's done so much, so many different things. There are just a few, just to rattle them off, such as the Penn World Voices, the 92Y Poetry Center, Voices of Poetry, Brownstone Poets, Lit Balm, Spectrum Reading Series, Yes Spectrum, Long Island Poetry Listings, New York Public Library, Starr Poetry Series, Poets in Nassau, Poets in Massachusetts, Columbia University School of the Arts in the city of New York. Great Weather for Media in New York City and New York City Voices, Bowery Poetry Club, and which named him a literature luminary, and as well as Statorec magazine, which named him the Incomparable Poet. We'll see. Viewers, you get to make your comparisons. I hope you are groovy with it. His works have been published and anthologized all over the US and in so many places over the world by so many literary magazines, journals, publishing houses. David is the author of 15 books of poetry, 8 novels, 3 audio albums of poetry. His first book-length works in English is a poetry book, Lilac Shadow of a Tree, and Eastern Starr. And Eastern Starr is now out in USA, and Lilac Shadow of a Tree is forthcoming, and it will be out, I hope, hopefully soon with Mad Hat Press of Lilac Shadow of a Tree. And Eastern Starr is out now with Adelaide Books. It's in New York. And also his book-length work in English, a novel, a Mysterie, is forthcoming in America in spring 21 from Mad Hat Press. He lives and works in New York, baby. I added the baby part. David, you've achieved quite a lot.
Thank you, thank you.
What haven't you done yet? You know, skydiving while writing a poem has been something that people have said. Motorcycling while writing a poem. You know, what's next for you? What are you looking forward to? Don't say this show as an answer. That's too obvious.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody. It's a great honor to be here. Thanks for having me. So first of all, let me say thank you personally to you, because you did this amazing show, Assiduous Dust, in internet, and I think you are making big things for everybody.
I hope
anthology also, yes. So thank you. Deeply honored. So yes, Eastern Starr has been published yesterday, and we were together in that moment when we were working on our book.
From when it was recorded. This is going to be from the past. The future is the past to tomorrow. So it's going to be, but we were together when it was published.
Yes, and the book is already published by Adelaide Books in New York City and in Lisbon. also important.
Great publisher.
Thank you. And yes, I trust him. And another my book, The Lilac Shade of a Tree, is forthcoming next year by Madhead Press with the novel Mystier, with beautiful translation by Mark Vincennes and Adam Smart. But poetry is written directly in English language.
Okay.
I wrote this novel in 2012. I published that novel in 2012 in Georgia.
Right.
Before my immigration.
And that's about the war, right?
After war, post-war situation in Georgia. It's a mystical detective story about two poets and one novelist. And this is a triangle, and one of them is insane man, and we don't know who exactly. And it's a very...
Is it about Donald Trump?
No.
I'm sorry, no. But it's interesting that you say that one of them is an insane man and you don't know which. And the interesting thing about it is, there's this thing that I heard. I'm not sure who. It's one of those things, these cliche things, but it just sounds so true. Is that the difference between being crazy and insane of a certain thing is that if you're, I'm sure I'm insane. I don't know that I'm insane sometimes. I guess we all can be, but that crazy people know they're crazy, and that insane people don't know that they don't know that they're crazy. Insane people don't know that they're crazy. Not that there's anything wrong with being crazy,
Josh, I think that poetry itself as a concept,
right?
Poetry is an enormous concept. It can be on my personal matter. Poetry is like reason of our existence, and result is a verse, is a text. In all honesty, there is only one real literary holy trinity. This is the author, the text, and the reader. This triangle is a holy of holy in literature for me.
So who is
reader,
the
text, and author? That's it.
Yeah. So some people say that there's something between that. That they say like the author, there's a relationship, with the muse and all that. Would you say that because the muse, would that be a combination of the Trinity? But before there's a reader or there's an author, does the muse exist before? That kind of gifts you the world.
I don't feel like there is
a spiritual experience.
It's pretty spiritual. Poetry is a spiritual thing, of course. And every poet is a spiritual poet, spiritual being, like everybody, all of us. We are all spirits in the flesh. And poetry and literature itself, not only poetry, but literature itself,
right, we're not limiting
has no borders at all. There is no borders at all, because despite of everything, despite of ethnocultural differences, for example, or ethnogeological, political, some differences, there is no borders at all.
And
every word, in my understanding, is alive. And in this multi-language dictionary of the mankind, if survive the following words such as freedom, poetry, responsibility, then the world will also survive. For me, this is the mission of literature and justification of existence, of our existence. Why we are here and where we're going.
Is to
what is our goal? Absolutely. And you mentioned this word alive, and I feel alive. I feel alive. And I don't know what does it mean to be alive, but I can explain with my poem. And I think it will be much interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to get into that.
Because, Josh, there is a mystery between empty paper or screen of computer and you. There is a mystery. You have to touch.
That happens between them.
This is the mystery, and you have to open your heart to others.
I hope we can solve it.
And let me read this, and I think just because of you mentioned this word alive, I think this is the pretty good answer of your question, because I think your question is pretty deep and it takes time to explain.
And hopefully
poetry
this
can
will
do
be a
this.
theme that we'll tie into, that we'll tie into, and we'll find out a little tiny bit of what makes us alive.
Cheers, everybody, and I'll do my
best. Let me get my water.
Okay,
L'chaim,
cheers.
L'chaim.
L'chaim, Gaumar
So would you, so David, I have to say it in a, would you awaken us and bring the blank sheet of our lives alive? Alive.
Standing on the edge of dawn on my balcony, I see the naked world all around me. You're most beautiful when you are most powerful, and you are most powerful when you are most alone, most open, most silent, my brilliant dawn in front of me. I feel my wife's hands around me. She made a coffee for me. She is smiling. Behind us, in our room, our child is sleeping. He is calm now. He is alive. And we are alive, and the dawn all around us is alive. Don't think about the past. I've thought to myself, what's done is done. You're free now, and the freedom is a miracle. Yes, it is, said my wife. She can read my thoughts. I thought and smiled back. Her smile and our child's laugh is a miracle, and that is home. It creates the faith of a silent and beautiful and powerful dawn.
Snap, 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 clap, 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 round of applause. Yeah, I love doing that. And there's something in there that you're like, there's a certain line I'd like to refer back to, or something. You mentioned your wife in it. And
yes, and child.
Yeah, and she's back in Georgia, in the country.
No, she's not back. She is still in Georgia.
She still is in Georgia.
I arrived in States in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I left Georgia for a political reason, and now I'm waiting for some good news. And of course, I'll let you know, and you'll be first.
Yes. So I wonder if, so how did that, I wonder if you could talk about a bit, because I know that you were really big in the poetry movement back in Georgia and you were part of, kind of a resistance and kind of using poetry to motivate, to be like, to stop Russia.
Yes. For example, in 2008, there was a war in Georgia. Russia made another attempt to conquer Georgia. Right. And by the way, 20% of Georgia's territory is still occupied by Russians, by Kremlin, by Putin. Yes, I opposed to Russia's military aggression. Yeah. By my protest meetings, I was
so how did you get involved in that? How did that start? Paint us a picture of how that started.
First of all, we just found it in the middle of the night. It was 1 or 2 a.m. when we heard that the war is real and Russia attacked Georgia. It was August 7th, 2008. I founded this headquarters of solidarity, human solidarity to our freedom, to our citizens, against Russian
and to stay aggression. Alive.
Yes, and I created this slogan, Stop Russia, and this slogan just circled the world. It was in every channel, the world's televisions and radio stations and newspaper everywhere. So And we did many protest actions against Russian aggression. So then, the politics in poetry, it's of course there are some differences, but in the
There
middle
really
is
are.
the middle is a citizen of the free world.
Exactly.
And for me and to me, poetry is freedom itself, because poetry and freedom is love. And
We're
this
getting
is
to those words,
very
and love
real
is what brings us
when one
alive.
man can sacrifice himself for your and other freedom, and for his own and other people's freedom. And I know many Georgian brave soldiers who sacrificed themselves for freedom and to freedom. And I think freedom is a concept in rules how to be a poet.
Really?
Everybody can be a poet and have to be poet, because and has to be and must be and should be. And
So it's at the inner heart of our hearts is poetry. It's waiting to like breathe free, and it's deeply connected, you're saying, to freedom and
yes, and I
to,
call this process
so freedom,
architecture of feelings.
alive, and poetry are like all
Absolutely
connected.
correct, because I built a text by breath and heartbeat. That's every thought is a real thing in your brain. It's not some kind of illusion. No way. It's
It
a
is
real, it's a
material.
tangible.
It is
It's
physical in a way.
absolutely tangible. And I call this process architecture of feelings, architecture of um, understanding, architecture of
Of like
sounds and visions. And that's
and it's a conceptual
process.
sound space, a conceptual, like your umwelt, your surround world isn't just limited to saying what's going on in here is completely separate from out there. No, it's all happening, and it's unified in this way. And when you look at it that way, it becomes much easier to then to
Yes, because we play our life. We play our life.
we do.
And yes, we do. And life is a secret, and life is a gift. Life is everything. Life is paradise. Life is hell. Life is something in
A
between.
miracle
Life is
also.
life. And we try to be a kind people, maybe.
I
And
hope.
poetry is the best way to achieve the best goals by best meanings. I mean, poetry itself. And let me share with you one very, very small piece. It's called We Play Our Life, and it has been published by Spectrum Publishing in Pasadena,
Yeah.
California. Our eyes are confidence of our solitude. Still these eyes touch vision, and our body is a foreign language addressing a foreign world. I say, take a deep breath, my love. Let us embrace and lift silence as an old friend. Perhaps then we shall discover each other far on the other side of silence. Fall touches fate's basket hilt, where all the wishes are jumping through. We cannot remember what we knew, but silence is a pleasure. Let me hold you. We play our life to a different sound, and the puzzle needs to be solved around leaves, confidence of our solitude. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Water. It's important. Yeah. Hopefully I don't accidentally then get the computer wet. Would be. So with that, there's a certain natural tone to it, of a kind of, there's this natural Whitman-esque tone, Whitman-esque tone to that piece in a way. And Spectrum's also, I love Spectrum. I've been in Spectrum with you many times. It's very groovy. And Dawn is also a friend of the show, and others. Don Kingfisher Campbell, the Spectrum's editor-in-chief, but you know, there's this naturalism that is, or not naturalism, there's this relationship to also nature that I think that a lot of people find, like, to do poetry, oh, you need to go out to a forest, you need to and watch the trees and the leaves, and you can do that, that's fine, that's what, but is there, you can also write a poem about, or even, what do you need to save your life? You're in the middle of a war or whatnot, and something, let's say you hear a poem, or you hear something, and you, how do you?
After war, I wrote the novel. It's called The Gardens and the Pandemonium. It was released, and has been published, by the way, in Brazil, this novel, in Portuguese.
And it's yet to be translated in English.
Yes, someday it will be done, and of course, and it will be published in States after my other novels, because it's a pretty long process and chain, and every
Plus
link
you have to
has a
look
meaning.
at the meaning between each word and everything, and you have to make sure, because it's not just, you can't willy-nilly just translate. You need to, it's a process.
Correct. But when I'm writing directly in English, the poetry, something strange is going on. I'm not kidding. It's for real. Something really strange is going on. For example, I feel some warmth. I feel my heart beats faster and faster, and every line after line I can see, and I'm learning to, in this process, learning to fly. Do you remember? Into the Distance, Ribbon of Black by Pink Floyd.
Because it's a physiological thing, and you're lining yourself, and you're allowing poetry to be, as we said, a living, breathing thing, which we embody.
Simultaneously, because
we simultaneously embody with ourselves. So there's poetry and us and a relationship.
The one
kind of like
there is some strange things, because look at it. Can you see this paper? Some paragraphs. These are my ideas about our conversations before what has happened, when we were working together about a double meaning stuff, how to publish, and simultaneously I was writing too, and I just noticed this. I wrote down this line, and I think, look at that, this is the answer. For example, you asked me once, if you remember, how do you move from one line to the next? Do you remember?
Oh,
yes, I wrote
for a quick second for our viewers. By the way, a double meaning is, in fact, I have had the honor to, with the literature luminary and incomparable poet, David Dephy, worked on a collection, a double meaning, and this is what's being referred to, is from our conversation in our from the West Coast and the East Coast, where David's
right now I'm in New York and you are in California.
Yes, so there's, when you work on different social media, certain things of Messenger or whatnot, there's saved transcripts that we have, or emails or whatnot, of our conversations from working on the book. So that's particularly what you're referring to, right?
Absolutely. And here are these lines.
Okay.
You ask me, how do you move from one line to the next, right? And look, it was it's a pretty bizarre. Unexpectedness is the way. Moving forward to trusting the flow. That is the main thing. Poem knows what to do with you. And you told me this.
You don't know. You listen to
you don't know.
Poem.
It knows. It knows. Yes, what to do with you. And then we can find some answers of our question in the classic American literature, and not only American, everywhere.
Right, of
Georgian
course.
literature.
Poetry is a deep tradition, as you know, embedded in society.
I think poetry is the constitution of all mankind. Poetry is the language.
Sociologically, without a doubt.
Poetry is the language of the universe. Language with no words and with words together.
And we
Poetry,
uncover the words.
yes. Poetry is like a reason for every language, for existence of language. And this existence drives you. You cannot remember who you are when you're writing a good poem, because there
You're
is no
somewhere
place,
else.
there is no room, there is no time for ego. You have no ego at all.
Right,
You're
because you are
totally free.
embodying, because the
You're
poem is
standing,
having you.
yes, you're standing in front of yourself, your own self.
And
You're
that's,
naked.
you
You're
know,
naked, and readers know that
Ibn,
you are
Ibn
naked.
Tufayl, Ibn Tufayl had, I remember I studied Islamic philosophy and some medieval Islamic philosophy, and there's this notion from it of Hayat Ibn Yatsan, which was one of the first novels, certain times of this philosophical novel. And they had this notion in it. There's this thing where somebody goes into this thing called fana, so al-fana, which is the act of forgetting oneself, and it's described in depth. And in it, there's a point where you see a mirror of a mirror of a mirror kind of looking in forward in the description of this. And it's like oneself looking at oneself, looking at oneself, looking at oneself. And particularly with the number, I think it was 50,000 or 500,000. But the point is there's that process, and that's a very deeply spiritual thing, meditative thing of reflection. And I think this is me personally, that there's stuff like this that's happening all the time that we're not as in tune to, that it's dependent upon who we are in our moment. And I don't know, do you have a particular poem where you were particularly witnessing, in the act of witnessing, where you felt it so strongly?
This is my witnessing. This beautiful anthology,
Oh,
When the Virus Came Calling, COVID-19 Strikes America, issued by Thelma Rayner. This is the
I have my
powerful
copy
book.
too.
Yeah, super. This is the powerful message for everybody into the future.
This is a great book, and Thelma T. Reyna is also a friend of Assiduous Dust, has been on the show, and she talking about her book, what is it, Dearest Papa, which was released, and she put out this incredible anthology. Which I was lucky to be included in with David Dephy.
Thank you. I'm lucky too. And deeply honored and very pleased. Yes, I have. It's a page 49, Before Dawn. And when I was informed that my poems have been accepted for American Anthology, I was pretty shocked. And here we are, Before Dawn. A stillness broken before dawn. In the name of all that's held, in the name of our very present, in the face of it all, the remaining past unclaimed, driven forth by faith, waiting for news, we are divided, spinning chaos into order, death into birth, looking for an exit, trying to recall the memory of you in the great affliction of time.
When it's clap, 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 snap, 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 round of applause. You're gonna want to hit me afterwards with that. Yeah, it's round of applause. There's a beautiful line in this. There are so many beautiful lines, but there's something particularly, and by the way, also a plug to get this as well.
Absolutely.
Is waiting for news. We are divided. And that's something that's really interesting. Hopefully the election will, this has been recorded pre-election, but hopefully this stuff who knows what will happen, the election of the US election, but there's something, a deeper truth also, not just with election, that we're divided. And who knows, we still will probably be divided as a country. I hope that we can be united regardless of the situation. We can somehow find unity. And what is that? Isn't that the Georgian motto? Is it unity is strength?
Yeah, this is Georgian national motto, of course. It's
yes, and
millenniums and million years ago was being written,
yeah,
was being founded. Okay.
Yes, and so but also the news is like,
it's being written.
If you're waiting, also it's also a spiritual thing. Also, if you're waiting for news, you're divided. You're waiting for something that you're going to find out that is going to come to you. So you're not present. You're not present. How could you be there? You're in that greatest affliction of it all because you're waiting for something that isn't now. And
I have good news. I have good news. We will all get out of here alive. What happens on time. Don't seek your fault. Nothing is your fault. There is no fault at all but living. Through the mysteries of forgiving, I see we're waiting for a miracle. The miracles happen when I trust you, my sweetest friend. But nothing happens when I cannot talk with you and cannot keep my faith, when I cannot continue my path when no one is around me, when I cannot trust myself when all men doubt me. Distance means nothing when your loved one means everything. And I'm telling you now, we will all get out of here alive. What does not happen in time. Don't seek your or others' fate. There is no fate at all but choice. In the centuries of noise and its deadly drive, while I'm telling you, we will all get out of here alive.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Thank you.
Round of applause. So I thank you. So hopefully I'm still alive. And you brought about of the pandemic and many different things. I know that was what was that, written in 2018, 2017 or 2018? It wasn't written this year, and yet it's so a message that needs to be heard. That was written a year or two ago, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was written in this line, we will all get out of here alive. Mm-hmm. I wrote during the Russian and Georgian War in 2008 mm-hmm. in Georgian language.
So
then I wrote this poem in English language here in New York City. Before before pandemic, it was 2018.
Okay, yeah. So that's
part of this poem was published by Dissident Voice in California, also by this magazine, and then I changed some lines, and now this poem is in this anthology too with Fellow right now.
So so talking about also, to go back to how do you go from one line to the next? Sometimes that process can take years because you're not aware of it, and so you jot down a note. Like for me, I like to sometimes I'll put one-liners on little napkins. I have a napkin here of like a line of something.
Yeah, sure.
As well as notes. And so you can have things like that. And so that process, it's expanded. So poetry, you're still creating a poem while you're living. You're still creating it. It's
yes, because I'm thinking and I'm not thinking. I'm thinking without words.
Exactly. And that space between, what Albert Einstein also had for a lot of it is also, he said something along these lines, I believe, of, to have the people, it's not that people don't know how to think, it's that, but also people know how to, stop thinking, is that, and to have space between. If you look at, for example, as someone who's studied mathematics, if you're proving a theorem or doing stuff, you need to take long walks. You can't just constantly just boom do it. Some people can do that. It's very rare.
Yeah, because everything is
you
in
need
you, and
space
you are this everything.
between. Yeah.
Everything is in you, Josh, and you are this everything.
Yes.
Everything is possible if you can just open your heart and, to be honest, with this emptiness in front of you, called empty screen, empty paper, silence, you have to be just yourself. It's very
not anyone else, not trying to do anything. And that way, and that's the only way to listen. That's the only way to have a real reciprocal, meaningful relationship, a conversation, is by allowing yourself to be nullified in order to give breath to something, just like, everything starts on a blank page.
Correct, yes.
And everything also starts with, you're born with a blank slate.
Yeah. For example, there is a hope. And hope is not only mythological, some understanding about Pandora's box and dreams and hope. No way. Hope is
and chaos also.
Absolutely, yes. Hope is, of course, longing for the future. It's obviously, but hope also is feeling next second. What will be next? You can feel this. You can predict your feeling.
That's a really interesting connection.
If you can, and if you are able, and if you are willing
to see, if
you're
willing,
to
and
write,
that willingness is key.
Write the line. If you're totally aware, what are you doing? That's why I wrote this poem. It's only 6 lines. It's called Hope.
Would you please give us your blessing of hope?
Thank you, Josh. Gladly. Hope. Listening to your voice on the other side of silence gives me the courage to lose sight and swim there. Your voice is hope, trusting the future. It calls me now. We are what we hear. Doubt is deadlier, but fear cuts deeper than air. And I'm not moving toward revenge. I forgive myself, my own loneliness. It's hard to form. That's the hope for me,
right. And there's this
from my perspective.
Right. And it's interesting that, the loneliness is hard to form, because if you're connected and if you're seeing and willing to see and envision that hope in the moment and to be aware of that, loneliness seems like something that's very far out of reach. It seems almost opposed. If that's a message.
Yes, and loneliness also.
Could you read that last line again about loneliness, please?
Absolutely. And this is not only stuck in the moment. No, it's also a process. Loneliness is a journey. It's a real journey is a loneliness. Real journey to yourself is a loneliness. And the way to God is the way to you yourself. For me, this is all the way.
It's right loneliness. So there's sort of like too much on loneliness, where you put too much into it, and it becomes something bad. If you end up
not too much.
If you add too much, it becomes
bridge is the balance. Yeah, the bridge is the balance. Last line is, and I am not moving toward revenge. I forgive myself, my own loneliness. It's hard to form.
Yeah, my own loneliness, it's hard to form. And that's, when you forgive also, that's the thing, is that, you're giving also. Forgiveness is a giving, and giving is forgiving.
Yeah, and it's a question of philosophy, of course, but
that's a
poetry,
line I need to write down.
I'm very excited because my first book has been published yesterday by Adelaide in New York City. and
Yesterday
it's
in the
called
past
Eastern
is today.
Star, and I am oh boy, it's a
Would you care to read a piece from it?
incredible moment.
Would you? So tell me a bit about when Eastern Star, the inception of it. When did that start
I was
coming?
working in
Paint
Southampton.
us a picture. Paint us a picture. Where were you?
I
When
was
were
working
you?
in Southampton in 2018 as a caregiver, and I saw the star early in the morning. It was dawn, and my wife calls me Eastern Star. My wife, and
Oh, that's beautiful.
thank you. And I just felt something, and I wrote this first line: "If there is no freedom within you, you won't inspire anyone." Then I wrote another line: "If there is no hope within you, you will never fly." And I said, I have time to write down all this line, and then I have to go back to my work, and then I will continue. And this process, when I was thinking what to do,
Yeah.
I
Do you
wrote the
have
whole
that
poem
muse?
in my brain, in my mind, and I just wrote down
Yeah.
very quickly
I
in
feel
my
like you.
notebook.
I feel like you just like demonstrated like that sounds like a process. It's a very much, and it's like you know. Honestly, I feel like. Have you done
Yeah.
any acting yet?
Yes, absolutely. And then we recorded my work with the Homus Poses. This is the
Right.
band duo in Philadelphia. I moved from New York to Philadelphia, recorded this audio track, and made some video clip. And then I decided, if one day my book will be published in America, I will just name my book as a Eastern Star, and voila, here we are.
Wow. There you go. It's a full circle. It's an Nassau. Things
Absolutely,
come together.
absolutely.
And that's what I think that's interesting is also there are different parts of our stories that intersect. Something that I like to say, there are little winks from the universe or whatnot. I call them God shots, you know, which I
Gotcha.
mentioned in
Yeah,
my
this is
book.
the ode to loneliness. And to be alone, it doesn't mean at all that you're sad or you're depressed.
Right. No, it doesn't have to. It's what
You're
you
waiting
add to it,
for.
too much of it.
You're,
The different feelings, like you say, certain things that there's, like you mentioned, there's a balance to these things.
you're you are on your path to reach the peaceful pastures somewhere beyond of
You're
this
reaching your own
noise.
Eastern Star. Maybe if I call your lovely wife, say, you know, I'd become an Eastern Star. Sorry,
Oh,
I didn't mean
Josh.
that in any. I mean that
Okay,
in the
let me
most
share with you
playful
this
way.
ode to loneliness. Let me share with you.
Oh, okay, please.
There is virtually no sound, just a receding distant noise, a single wave pulsing at its very end. Alone here, steeped in disquieting thoughts, trying to burst into song, fumbling to utter a single word, any word. Still, these lips touch the air, and this body is a foreign language, addressing a foreign world. I say, dig deep, my love. Let us embrace this great void as an old friend. Perhaps then we shall discover each other far on the other side of alone.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I was doing that round of applause to that. And there's absolutely, you know, there's a beauty in your work that is incomparable. There is a beauty in
Thank you.
you know how to silence somebody. I wish that Donald Trump could hear you read, because then he might shut the fuck up. And if you're a Trump
Politics,
supporter,
politics.
and you
This
hear
is the.
I'm incredibly sorry for you. I'm sorry. I do believe, though, that it's important to be able to understand another person's side or viewpoint. But if it infringes on someone else's safety and concern and inalienable rights, I think that that is incredibly wrong, and that is not okay in any shape or form. But I do think, and I do want to say about from what I said just now, I do
Thank
think,
you.
and I wonder your thoughts, is that, David, and maybe actually I'm going to jump to this, is given in light of everything that's happened going on, and there's been a shift. Have you noticed a shift a bit in America as you've been here? And
we're living in a strange world, Josh.
Does it remind you of anything?
Of course, remind me. Of course, because
certain things
I have seen these situations many times in my life in East Europe, and it's for me, it's pretty understandable what's going on in the world because I know who is the enemy. Enemy is the Kremlin. Enemy is the empire of Russia. Kremlin, Putin himself. It's dangerous guy, and the Kremlin always was and still is dangerous place for everybody in the world.
Democracy.
Listen, there is no question about democracy. There is no question about freedom. There is only one question. This is question of existence. If you are a free man, or if you are nothing, no one, you're a slave. So for me, free man is a poet. And poet is a man who can help.
But act.
And act too, can help this century, this mad world, this very noisy world, because Russia wants everything and at once, but it gets nothing and gradually. This is the law of universe. That's how universe works. So someday, very good thing will be happened in the world, and finally people will see what responsibility, freedom, love, poetry means, because love always wins, Josh. If not, it won't be love at all.
It couldn't have been, because it's not true love, is what you're saying. It's
Absolutely.
with the capital L. Yeah. So
with the capital L.
Not for loser, but for love. Sorry.
All right, sir. And when we can start,
I wonder, David.
We can start our process of other books. It's I'm so eager to.
That's what I was about to do. Hey, wait.
Really?
Yes, you must have felt the hope.
Okay, let's do it.
So but there's a way to do it. There's you beat the sensation. I have to have a cute little weird thing. Would you help me help you to not helpfully quote Jerry Maguire of help me, help you, help me, but to become alive with the spirit of forgiveness and allow us to be forgiving as a giving, and a giving forgiveness in a lived body, walking on a tightrope in the stars against the tide and all the people and a bunch of clowns, and maybe there's somebody playing checkers in the background, but we don't look at the checkers players. Instead, we just do the OTSCE, on the spot collaborative poem, a hallmark of Assiduous Dust. So let's do that instead of watch the checker players in the darkness.
Okay, let's do it.
Against checkers. Checkers is great.
Cheers again, everybody.
Cheers again.
Cheers again, and let's do it.
So listeners and viewers, what David and I are going to do, we're going to engage in the OTSCP, your favorite here, and as well, yep. And so what, I have a bunch of books out, a few books out, and David has a few books out, open to open pages, and I'm going to say and David's going to let us know the books, authors, and the titles, and the page numbers that you have out. And then I'm
reading right now these poets: John Milton,
And this is from what? From what's the book title? This is from
John Milton.
Okay, John Milton.
John Milton, Paradise Lost.
Okay.
Marquin Sands, Becoming the Sound of Bees, Marquin Sands.
You have it open to what page?
Oh, yes, I opened this page. I'm ready. I'd like to read from Thelma Rayner's work also.
Okay.
Directly. And I have.
And what book? What page of that
by
is it
Joshua
from?
Corwin. Do you know this guy? Who is this? Do you know this
Schmuck.
Joshua Corwin? Who's this guy?
Who is he?
Okay.
But what
Okay,
page do you have each two? If you would let us know what 2 pages you have each one to.
So, Becoming the Sound of Bees by Marquin Sands is a page 8. No, sorry, it's a page 9. Page 9 and.
So page 8 and 9 or 9 and 10?
No, this is the page 9.
Oh, okay. So you're using from that you're using single page instead of double?
No, I found some connections between Milton, Thelma, Mark, you, myself, and other poets too, and maybe it works. Let's see. I don't know yet.
We'll see. Okay, and so Thelma, from the When the Virus Strikes is out to what page?
When Virus Strikes. Oh, okay. Let me see.
The page number of that.
Let me see the page number. This is number 108.
Okay. And you have for.
And I'm going to read the final lines. I see you and other birds.
Okay.
And then from the Becoming of Joshua Corwin and.
Becoming Bolder. You have what page are you? What pages are you using?
So this is page 26, Memory Style.
Oh.
I love this poem.
Oh, I do too. Whoever wrote it might be cool.
Okay.
Okay, so I have Diane Prima, and I have it out from. So I use 2 pages for each. I have it's from edited by Anne Waldman. It's the Beat book. And I have it out to pages 130 and 131, the late Diane, work of the late Diane de Prima. And on page 130, I have it out to the unnamed Buddhist nun who burned herself to death on the night of June 13th, 1966. And then brief Wyoming meditation. And then 131 is out to I Fail as a Dharma Teacher. And I have this book called by Barbara A. Holdridge, which is Veda and Torah, Transcending the Textuality of Scripture. And I have that out to pages 162, 163. Then I have, of course, Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass, out to pages 314 and 315, which gives you To a Pupil, Unfolded Out of the Field, Out of the Fold. It gives you also What Am I After All and Cosmos. And then I have, lastly, I have Ulysses by the wondrous James Joyce, and I have that out to pages 390 and 391. Okay. So that's what I'm working with.
Would you like me to do it, or you, or what? Who's first?
We go back and forth. So each line, so what we do, the way, again, for the name of the game, so I see a word here, and then wherever my eyes gaze, I just start picking together spontaneous little things. For example, this is a practice round. I see Psalm identifies himself in all fitted as yourself. So I piece together the words using that. Then there would be a pause, and then it would go back to you.
Okay,
so
I got you.
Do a back and forth, and it either ends as a masterpiece, or as I like to say, a masterpiece, which is probably a masterpiece as it is. So would you like to go first and start us off in the back and forth?
Back and forth.
Would you like to be the one to start off this chain reaction of grooviness?
Let's do it. The chain reaction of grooviness. Groover G. Mr. Groover G.
So would you like to Groovergize away first and start it off?
Okay, I'd like to start. May I? One line or two lines, be ready. Let's go, let's do it.
Yeah, the lines can be however length, but you're piecing it together.
I see homeless in the Santa Monica street. I'm in Starbucks, out a window, a memory. A colleague, I tried to help get sober. My age, between 24 and 26.
So, David, just one thing is that we're picking individual words, not full lines. So we're picking individual words of all the books and piecing them together.
But it was beautiful line. I can cut this line. Okay, one more time.
Okay.
I'm homeless. In the Santa Monica street, the seas begin to rise. Each day, the tide falls in closer. And then I did, but prompt the age to quit their clocks by the known roots of ancient liberty.
Okay.
I think
reform is shaped in Averroes and Maimonides of bigness, Torah, Adam decided, nature, earth, the mountains of spring, my skillful, noble woman is shaped, unfolded.
all right. And then I see you and other birds, all of us masked.
By reality, by self-esteem, by God, attributed to descendants, expelling nothing but roadmap.
And watching the ground, we try to find our leaves count, reaching for the unlined hands. Hey, man.
A child of sound, a child yourself. You see, not afeared by vampires of commandments, by the world, my voice, a dharma banging can.
Deep dark smoke, it sent me out on my way into the old country.
Of personality, also majestic canon of equilibrium glory.
When I consider how my light is spent,
flaming a crowd of eyes in the night.
his mind wouldn't let him. He couldn't say the words.
Drunken death blows almightiness, questions would serve the greatness of generations.
I see you walking by my house.
Kind, dusty, the balm steamy.
I am here. I think this is finished.
That's a great ending. That's a great ending, right?
We did it. It's a very bizarre process, but it's like jazz, like jazz.
It's
yes,
like
yeah.
jazz.
Like jazz, yeah.
It is jazz in poetry.
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
jazzerific. It's jazzerific.
Jazzerific, yeah.
Groovetastic. And thank you for starting us on the OTSCP Groove Energy. We'll have to come up with a title. I will type that up and send to you, David. Thank you so much, David. Would you please, any links that you'd like to mention for people? Where can people check out your work? Where can people check out, where can they get your latest book, which is
Hey, follow me, please,
Eastern
on
Starr.
yes, on SoundCloud, on YouTube. Eastern Starr is Adelaide Books Publishing House. It's also available on the Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon.
Yeah, it's of course this is COVID time, and Amazon is working, energizer like this. And may I say a couple of words as a man who was here in your kingdom, my dear friend, and it's called Streets. And I know how this poem was written and how I shared it with other publishers, with other peoples. And then I remember what you told me about this poem, and I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I told you that this is a poem that needs to resurface. I had mentioned that to you, right?
Right. Thank you,
So
Josh.
will you close us out on the streets with justice?
Thank you, Josh. Streets. Looking at the empty streets, beauty needs to be seen. I know you're happy out there on the other side of emptiness, yet the present is the choice which remains. In admiration, beauty, in poverty, wealth, and in silence, the sound. I will put the gun down. Who stands beside me matters more. I'll remember the second. On the other side of what was emptiness. I'll remember this present, but the streets will be alive again. Only that which needs to be seen will be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, David Dephy, everyone.
Thank you, Joshua Corwin.
Now let's wave goodbye. Maybe dance out for those,
Next time, when this COVID will gone.
Okay. Bye.
Will be gone.
Okay.
Will be gone. Okay. Thank you.